Hello and welcome to the DES Pharma Podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Pontrelli, and I am here with Mead Madhaw and Isaac Jagannathan. I'm here to announce that we just finished up DCAT, so we're going to have a brief intro because we'll be speaking about DCAT and our experience there, telling everybody that we're going and attending ASGCT very shortly. So I wanted to start off the conversation with Isaac. So Isaac, you have been a long-time DCAT attendee. You've seen several DCATs over the years, and my primary question is, what was it like back in your days at Pfizer when you first attended DCAT, and what's changed about your attendance now, especially particularly with DES Pharma?
Sure, absolutely. Great question. First of all, DCAT, great organization, known forever, as long as I've been in pharma, pretty much. And 2005, when I was with Pfizer, and DCAT was primarily held out of the Waldorf Astoria, we would go there during our lunch break to listen to talks that several of our senior leaders were giving. And for us, it was just very straightforward. We'd go there, Pfizer would have a room or a conference, we had a lot of brand recognition. People would approach us because we were with Pfizer. Moving out of that big pharma space into more of the consulting space, different. I will still give a lot of kudos to the DCAT team as they've expanded beyond the Waldorf Astoria into all the neighboring hotels in the Midtown area. And I think they're doing a great job coordinating. They do an amazing job getting new companies introduced into their network and give them the right resources to make things happen. I will say, looking at DCAT then and DCAT now, I will say the primary focus has been on API, small molecule, back in the day. Maybe some level of interest in single-use containers and some areas of bios, but I would say it was primarily centered on small molecule API, and that to me has shifted. I see a lot more of the bios, of even the small molecule API company CDMOs that were more traditionally present at DCAT in the past now have some area that they're building out in the biosector as well.
No, that's really, really great insights. This was my first DCAT attendance. I thought it was pretty amazing. We went and had meetings with all these CDMO, CRO partners, suppliers across at least 6 or 7 hotels in the area in Manhattan. And it was extremely exciting. You're essentially face to face with business leaders and decision makers at these companies who are able to inform you about the capabilities of their companies, to let you know what their sort of plan is for the next year or couple of years, what they're focused in. So it was really great. And then, in addition to all these meetings that you're having in these hotel rooms, right? Like, let me go up to the 12th floor, the 14th floor, to this wonderful lobby where this company is hosting their meeting rooms. You have the DCAT lobbies where people are walking around, and it's an incredible networking opportunity to just meet with folks that you would have never expected. So I know that you particularly when we were just waiting in between meetings, that you met some folks. Can you tell me about that a little?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I would agree with you wholeheartedly. I mean, it's not just about the meetings that you have set up beforehand, which is extremely valuable. Definitely do your homework, set up the meetings, know who's there, and you make all those resources that are available to you, take advantage of them, and set up the meetings with these CDMOs because they want to meet with you as well. Even as in the consulting space, we got so much interest. But I will say, go to the cocktail hours, right? Go to the lounges and have a cup of coffee. Say hi to people. Everybody there is looking to create business and create value, and not just for their individual companies, but for the industry as a whole. And I think that's where the common culture of wanting to create best practices and push the right things forward for the patients comes to mind, because we are a network of individuals working in different capacities, but we all have that patient focus in mind. And so right there is a strong platform for a conversation. You're getting a coffee, or whether you're going to one of the sponsored cocktail hours, or whether you're having lunch in one of the nearby restaurants. I mean, there's an opportunity to talk to colleagues, learn a little bit about maybe areas that you wouldn't have normally researched and investigated on your own, and really just make full use of that community that has a like-minded approach to patient success.
That's an excellent capture of what the vibe at DCAT was. You really hit it perfectly. But I do want to ask, Mead, about the main line, the trajectory, if you will, of what pharma is, particularly from the CDMO CR perspective, What is your view and opinion where the market sort of is changing or its trajectory in terms of maybe modality? And also from what you saw, where are CMOs, CROs investing their money? Mead, that's to you.
Yeah, so a common theme, was really in the more complex biologics. So I would say that, of the CDMO CROs that we talked to there, which was a pretty, wide gambit, there was a number of, very large small molecule CDMOs who are very well established, right? That's kind of what DCAT used to be. And then there's, like Isaac said, there's the biologic CDMOs, which classically have been doing primarily, monoclonal antibodies and basically, your more, classical biologic products that are now moving into things like bispecifics. They're moving into ADCs, was huge. We saw a consistent there. So a lot of peptides as well, which, again, debatable whether those are biologic or not, given, their nature, right? How big they are. So I would say that, to echo Isaac's point, it's moving to biologics and it's moving to more complex biologics is generally where it's.
Yeah, I would have to agree. That's no, that's really good insight. I appreciate that, and I think our viewers would appreciate the insight too. So I do want to move on to the second part of our podcast, which is announcing our ASGCT attendance. So DES Pharma will be attending ASGCT on May 11th through the 15th. You are able to go to our website and book meetings with us on Calendly while we're there. ASGCT is the largest nonprofit medical and scientific organization dedicated to the research, development, and application of gene-related cell and nucleic acid therapies. Essentially, it's a forum for serving the entire advanced therapy ecosystem. So whether this be cell, gene, or the delivery devices for other gene therapies along with nucleic acid therapies. Now, I started off with Isaac last, but I know that you've had some history of attendance with ASGCT. Mead, can you tell me about your previous experiences and what your expectations are for this year?
Sure. So, to be fair, I haven't been to ASGCT after the pandemic. So my experiences was kind of, before that, which, when things were much different in the world. But, my experience with ASGCT has really been that, it's a very science-heavy conference. There's a lot of really excellent talks where most, if not all, of the innovator companies, whether that be, companies doing, new viral vector production systems or new delivery vehicles or new DNA systems, are all presenting their work in a forum, basically, to both, I think, gain investor traction and also get collaborations. And typically it's all in one building, unlike DCAT, which is more decentralized. So the format of the conference is pretty dramatically different, and usually there's a number of, they hold it at various different places. The last one I went to was in Washington, D.C. in the NIH, so that one was a little bit different. This one's going to be in Boston in a convention center, so, a little bit different venue, but generally speaking, it's very consistently focused on the science, getting investment, presenting data, that kind of thing.
And do you think, since a lot about ASGCT is about funding and co-development, I wanted to ask you, DES Pharma's primary value proposition to companies, especially now that are seeing a struggle in the investor community to acquire funding. What is DES Pharma's stance?
Yeah, so let's define what the change has been, right? The change has pretty much, and I read an article in Fierce Pharma the other day that literally zero preclinical, fundraising, investment or IPOs have taken place, right? So what the investment firms want to see is, a proven track record of engagement with the agency with an endorsement plan for how to get to the clinic, a reasonable clinical, strategy, right? And in addition to that, manufacturability and cost. So whereas before it was enough to just have, proof of concept, now it's much more, you need proof of concept, you need a clear clinical plan, and you need an eye on commercial. And so actually, just because the funding levels have dropped doesn't necessarily mean that it's worse for us, because what it actually means is that the technical level that the companies need to achieve has just gone up for their funding, to get the funding, which is something that we support. So we support funding in a number of different ways. One of them is through grant writing. So we have professional grant writers on the staff. I myself have written grants. We have others on the team who have done many different types of grants. Additionally, we help companies basically, do due diligence kind of, package development, so that when they're going to potential investors, they have all of their bases covered, as well as the regulatory component, which is, our main kind of bread and butter, right? Which is, a preclinical company that hasn't had an interact meeting with the agency yet, right? And they want to get all of their questions answered in a way that they can, gain investor confidence, right? That's our bread and butter, right? Same thing for the mid-stage companies that are phase 2, trying to go commercial. It's the same kind of gap assessment tool, right? They're still pre-revenue. They still have all the same gaps, right? As well as, keeping them on track from a batch release and technical operations perspective to make sure that they do not have any serious adverse events that derails their program, through drug substance problems, or from ClinOps issues.
That was a very robust answer. I wanted to say appreciate it, and I think you really captured DES Pharma's full capabilities in terms of how they support CG&T. So if you'd like to meet with us at ASGCT between May 11th and 15th, please reach out to us via our website and schedule some time via Calendly. If not, we'll see you at our next podcast. So thank you, Mead. Thank you, Isaac. And I'll see you again shortly.
Thanks, Matt. Cheers.
Thank you. Bye.